Greetings, everyone. I'm Master Moses, known to some as Alec Head, and today I'd like to talk about stories. Now, if you know me, and some of you do, some of you don't, then you'll know that I cannot get enough of reading about stories, especially stories from ancient civilizations, things like that. However, there's a few different categories that these stories can fall into. So today I'd like to take a moment to talk about the difference between myths, fables, folktales, and legends. Now, a myth primarily gives a reason for something. It could be giving a reason for a natural event, such as, earthquakes or tsunamis being caused by various gods or demons, to why people do the things they do based on the interactions of people and deities. It usually builds some sort of explanation for this throughout. Obvious examples would, of course, include many of the Greek myths, which have always been a passion of mine in their own right. Next up is the fable. Fables are usually involving animals, particularly talking animals. They're usually probably the shortest form of stories. They typically come from oral traditions, and they teach a lesson. Aesop is very well known for his fables, including such popular choices as The Tortoise and the Hare, which teaches us the lesson that slow and steady wins the race in the end. Up next are folktales. Folktales are usually stories that have been told by groups of people again and again over time. Examples might include Little Red Riding Hood, for example, which is kind of a random one, but bear with me here. The idea being that it's a story that's been told just again and again and again, usually within the same region of the world, and the same people pass on this story, and eventually it just becomes so well known that that's just the story that everyone knows. Lastly are legends. Legends make for some of the most interesting stories because, as the best stories do, they have just the tiniest kernel of truth buried deep down in the middle there. Legends are usually based in some way on a real story or a real event or a real person. And then they take that and they expand on it. It grows. You've got your stories of these knights that probably did exist, but stories of knights slaying dragons and defeating warlocks, things that probably didn't happen, but it's based on people that did exist. This can go really in any direction. I mean, you could look at Sir Isaac Newton, who most likely did not have an apple fall on his head, but it's most likely just how he explained it to people. Well, the thought that the apple did fall on his head would be considered a legend, because it was really there. He was really there, but the events didn't necessarily take place in the way they're described. All in all, myths, fables, folktales, legends, they all have their own appeal. They all have their strengths. They all teach things in different ways. And they're all very interesting, especially, as I said, in the ancient cultures. But for right now, this is Master Moses, signing out.